When I think of FAFSA, I think of Pell Grant. Those are like congruent, but then there are like 4 different things that when you're signing up for the FAFSA that you can get, but it's just like part-time work, basically scholarships, which scholarships don't really come through the FAFSA. It's part of it. And then the other one is a loan. You're applying for a loan or it approves you for a loan. There's like $36 billion total as of 2018 in the Pell Grant program. The thought behind requiring everyone to fill out a FAFSA, all of your children, is, oh, you don't want to miss out on the free money. But once again, what is that free money going to cost you? And I'm not even saying in the more meta, because a lot of people have used this talking point, or at least what I've read, in like, oh, if we gave that money back, like that $3.75 billion in surplus, if we gave that money back, put it somewhere else, we could do good somewhere else. Or if we just gave that back, put it back into the kitty, we don't have to tax people as much. And therefore, what is this program costing you? Like how much? No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is going back to what we were talking about, which is what is that $7,400 going to cost you? How much more will you have to spend to get that $7,400? For example, for me, I was going to college. I knew I was going to college. I got accepted into college. I knew that I was going. It made sense for me to fill out the FAFSA. It made sense for me to get the Pell Grant because I was going to pay that money anyway. But for my classmates that didn't go to college, why would they fill out the FAFSA? They knew that they weren't going to go. If they knew they weren't going to go, then why should it be mandated to fill out this thing, which is literally only one utility that it has, is to get you monies to go to college. And if you know that you're not going to go to college, then why do I have to fill this thing out? Now, the whole getting money to save money, but then to save money, you have to spend money. It reminds me of those like entertainment books. If you're of a certain age, you remember those things. You know, the ones you had to sell for like fundraisers. It was in The Office. And they had like I think it was Halloween episode. They were like, we want it, the best costume or whatever, $34,000 in savings. And Oscar, I think, was like, to get all those savings, you'd have to spend like $75,000. And it just reminds me of that situation. Like everybody's fighting over this thing. It's like, oh, $34,000 in savings. But it's like, yeah, but how much do you have to spend? How much money, time, effort do you have to spend to get that $7,400? And that's assuming that you are incredibly low income and that you do get the maximum amount awarded to you. The whole reasoning around why we should require and mandate high schoolers to fill out the FAFSA, that whole argument that I just laid out, it reminds me of a conversation I was having with one of the top people in affordable housing in Hawaii. This guy was in charge of 2 of the biggest low-income housing projects on Oahu. We start talking, and I'm just absolutely fascinated by his job. Like I'm like blown away by his job. I ask how work is, and he says, we're doing okay. Well, we've got like 5% vacancy. We got to fill those. And then I followed up with, how long do people normally stay in there? Okay, 5% vacancy. What's the goal to get them out by and help them get out of low income housing? And I asked this question to just be like, well, I'm assuming that we want to transition people out of low income housing because to be in low income housing, you have to be low income. You have to maintain a low income. I'm thinking, well, we want to help people raise their incomes and get out of low income housing so that they can increase their standard of living. With a higher income comes an increased standard of living. And so he just looks at me dumbfounded and he's like, we don't track that. Isn't the whole goal here to like get people out of low income housing, start making more money like I was saying, and improve their lives? Then someone else that needs low income housing because they've fallen on hard times, they come in and take their place. Hopefully there's a revolving door of people. For me, in my mind, I'm thinking the ideal utopian dream is that that doesn't exist. Nobody's in there because everybody's doing great and we live in a great world. And he's like, yeah, no, we don't track that. So then I asked him, I said, so what's success for you? And he's like, 100% occupancy. And I was like, occupancy at all times? Like that's the goal? That's what we're tracking? Like that's what we want? We just want these rooms to be filled? Yeah. And you don't mind if somebody's in this house for like 10, 20 years. That's good to you. Right? It doesn't matter how long they're in there. We just need the rooms to be occupied. And I was like, shouldn't it basically be the opposite in an ideal world like we were talking about? I just don't understand. And this reminds me of that conversation. It's just like he was looking at all of the empty that he had, right? The 5% vacancy, once again, like the 3 point something billion dollars, $3.75 billion that wasn't used. And people are looking at that and be like, well, we got to use it up. We got to use it up. Okay, sure, definitely. It was portioned out for that. And if it's not getting out to people, then we're not helping that much more people. But really, shouldn't the goal to like get people out of it, get people to not need it? I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't have the answers. I'm just asking the question. Let me know what you think. YouTube comments, Spotify comments. I really don't know. I want to know what you think. Moving on, the last thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is really where I got a little bit excited about this thing. It's kind of adjacent to what we've been doing or what I've done once about the marketing secrets of colleges, but this isn't really college, but it is. It's the whole system. I wanted to break down what filling out the FAFSA does for you and your child. Filling out the FAFSA makes it much more likely that you or your child go to college. By one estimate from a 2009 study and a 2013 follow-up, 91% of students who completed a FAFSA had a post-secondary enrollment. That's almost 92%. Granted, that was 10 years ago. Granted, that's completely correlational. And that's from the NCES. I didn't fact check them, but that was for the study that they did. They found that 92% of students who completed a FAFSA had a post-secondary enrollment. Once again, when you don't mandate it, that makes sense because the people that are filling out the FAFSA, they're going to go through it. I mean, it's pretty invasive. They do ask about your income and everything, your assets and things like that, then apply. And so most people, if you make it optional, the people that are applying are the ones that want to go to college. That's selection bias right there. So like 92% of people that say they want to go to college, and you're like, no shit. It's like, wow, what a great finding. I'm just giving you what I found. What I wanted to talk to you about